My sister-in-law borrowed my car for an errand. The dashcam caught her picking up my husband from another woman's house. I wasn't even looking for anything. My car had been making a weird clicking noise, so I took it to the mechanic. While waiting, I decided to check the dashcam footage to see if it captured whatever was causing the sound. I fast-forwarded through my usual commute, grocery runs, nothing interesting. Then I saw footage from last Tuesday, the day my sister-in-law said she needed my car because hers was in the shop. There she was, pulling into an unfamiliar driveway in a neighborhood I didn't recognize. She waited maybe 2 minutes before my husband walked out of the house. Not rushed, not sneaking, just casually strolling out like he belonged there. He climbed into my passenger seat and they drove off together. I sat in that mechanic's waiting room watching the timestamp tick forward. They grabbed coffee at a drive-thru, laughed at something. At one point, he reached over and squeezed her shoulder, the kind of gesture you make with someone you're comfortable with, someone you know well. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I checked my texts from that day. My husband had told me he was working late on a project. My sister-in-law had asked to borrow my car around noon, said she'd return it by dinner. I'd thought nothing of it. Family helps family. We'd just hosted Thanksgiving at our house last month. She'd brought homemade pie and helped me clean up while the guys watched football. She'd hugged me goodbye and said she was so grateful to have me as a sister. I rewound the footage and paused on the house. It was a small blue bungalow with white shutters. The mailbox had a number on it. I took a screenshot. Then I kept watching. They drove for 18 minutes before pulling into a park. They sat there for over an hour, just talking. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see their faces. See how animated she got? How he leaned toward her when she spoke? How she laughed and touched his arm? The mechanic called my name. Something about the clicking noise being a loose belt, easy fix. I nodded, paid, and drove home on autopilot. That night, my husband came home at his usual time, kissed my forehead, asked what was for dinner. My sister-in-law texted me a thank you for the car, added a heart emoji. She sent another message asking if we were still on for our girls' lunch on Saturday. I stared at that heart for probably 15 minutes. I didn't confront them. Not yet. Instead, I did what any reasonable person would do in this situation. I drove to that blue bungalow the next morning, parked down the street, and waited. At 8:15 a.m., a woman in scrubs walked out and got into a silver sedan. She looked tired, probably coming off a night shift. I followed her to the hospital, watched her badge herself in through the staff entrance. Her name was visible for just a second on that badge. I wrote it down. When I got home, I opened my laptop and started searching. It took maybe an hour to piece together who she was. A nurse, divorced 2 years ago, no kids. Her social media was private, but her profile picture showed her at some charity run from last spring. My husband was in the background of that photo, arms crossed, smiling, watching. I recognized the shirt he was wearing. I'd bought it for him last Christmas. That's when I noticed the date on the photo. 8 months ago. This wasn't new. I went back through the dashcam footage, checked every time my sister-in-law had borrowed my car over the past year. She'd asked maybe 6 times total, always with some excuse about her car. Every single time she'd picked up my husband from that same blue house. I'd handed her my keys with a smile, never suspecting a thing. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister-in-law. Can I borrow your car again tomorrow? Mine's making that noise again. I stared at the message. Then I typed back, of course. What time do you need it? She responded immediately. You're the best. Noon work? Perfect. I wrote back. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to my husband, listening to him breathe, wondering how many times he'd lied to me, how many late nights at the office were actually spent with her, how many family dinners we'd sat through, the 4 of us, while they exchanged secret glances I was too stupid to notice. I got up around 3 a.m. and went downstairs. Made coffee even though I knew the caffeine would make the anxiety worse. I pulled up our text history on my phone. Months and months of conversations. Love you. Miss you. Can't wait to see you tonight. All of it felt contaminated now, poisoned by what I knew. I looked at photos on my phone. Our wedding day. Vacations we'd taken. Christmas mornings. His arm around me, both of us smiling at the camera. In every photo, I was looking at him with this expression of complete trust. Complete certainty that we were solid. That he was mine and I was his, and nothing could change that. How naive I'd been. The next morning, I told my husband I had errands to run. He kissed me goodbye like always, told me to have a good day. The casualness of it made me want to scream. Instead, I smiled and said, you too. I called in sick to work. At 11:45 a.m., my sister-in-law pulled into my driveway. I handed her the keys through the window, watching her face for any sign of guilt. Nothing. She was good at this. Years of practice, probably. You're a lifesaver, she said, flashing that same warm smile she always gave me. The smile I'd thought meant we were friends. I'll have it back by dinner. Take your time, I said. Each word tasted like ash in my mouth. I waited until she turned the corner, then I got into my other car and followed her. She drove straight to that blue bungalow, parked in the driveway like she owned the place. My husband's car was already there, tucked beside the house where it wouldn't be visible from the street. Smart. They'd really thought this through. She knocked once, and he opened the door immediately, like he'd been waiting right there for her. They didn't kiss on the doorstep, didn't embrace. Just walked inside together, closing the door behind them, disappearing into someone else's house to do God knows what while I sat outside like an idiot. I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe 10 minutes? Maybe 20. Time felt strange, elastic. Part of me wanted to storm in there and catch them red-handed, make them face what they were doing. But another part of me, the part that still couldn't quite believe this was real, wanted to drive away and pretend I'd never seen any of it. Finally, I got out of my car, walked up to that front door on legs that felt like they might give out any second. The whole walk felt surreal, like I was watching myself from outside my body. I tried the handle. Unlocked. The house was quiet. Neat. Someone's home that they were using like a cheap motel. I could hear voices coming from upstairs. Not words, just the low murmur of conversation. Then laughter. My sister-in-law's laugh, the one she did when something genuinely amused her. I stood in the entryway, surrounded by someone else's life. Family photos on the walls. A coat rack by the door with a jacket I didn't recognize. Mail stacked on a side table. The nurse's name was on an envelope. I picked it up, turned it over in my hands like it might explain something. That's when I heard footsteps on the stairs. My husband appeared first, his shirt untucked, hair slightly messed up. He was looking back over his shoulder, saying something to her, smiling. Then he turned forward and saw me. The smile dropped off his face so fast it might have been funny under different circumstances. His face went completely white. He actually stumbled on the last step, caught himself on the railing. "What are you doing here?" he managed to say. My sister-in-law came down behind him, still adjusting her clothes. When she saw me, she made this small sound, not quite a gasp, more like the air being punched out of her lungs. Her hand flew to her mouth. "I could ask you the same question," I said. My voice sounded calm, eerily calm, like I was commenting on the weather instead of watching my entire life fall apart. But I already know the answer. Nobody moved. The three of us just stood there in this stranger's house, the truth hanging in the air between us like something physical, something you could reach out and touch. My husband found his voice first. "It's not what it looks like." I actually laughed. The sound came out harsh, bitter. "Really? That's what you're going with? The oldest line in the book? Please," my sister-in-law said. She stepped forward, her hands out like she was trying to calm a scared animal. "Please, just let us explain." "Explain what exactly?" I asked. "How you've been borrowing my car to chauffeur my husband to your little love nest. How you've been lying to my face for God knows how long. Which part needs explaining?" My husband ran his hands through his hair. A nervous gesture I'd seen 1,000 times over 8 years of marriage. We didn't mean for this to happen." "Oh, so you accidentally ended up here? You accidentally started sleeping with your brother's wife? It was all just one big accident?" "It's more complicated than that," my sister-in-law tried. "Is it?" I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman I'd welcomed into my family, who I'd shared secrets with over wine, who I'd comforted when she complained about her marriage. Because from where I'm standing, it seems pretty straightforward. You wanted something that wasn't yours, so you took it. Tears started streaming down her face. Real tears or crocodile tears, I couldn't tell anymore, didn't care anymore. "I never wanted to hurt you. You have to believe that. But you did it anyway," I said. "That's what matters. Not your intentions, your actions." My husband took a step toward me. I took a step back. The hurt that flashed across his face might have satisfied me if I wasn't so numb. "Can we go somewhere?" he asked. "Just you and me? Talk about this properly? Now you want to talk. After months of lying to me every single day, after sneaking around behind my back with my own sister-in-law." "She's not your sister," he said, then immediately looked like he regretted it. "No," I agreed. "She's your brother's wife," which somehow makes this even worse. My sister-in-law sank down onto the bottom step, her face in her hands. "This is such a mess. This is all such a mess." "You're right," I said. "It is a mess. Your mess. Both of you." I looked at my husband. 8 months. That's how long, right? Since that charity run. He didn't deny it, just stood there, defeated. "I saw the photo," I continued. "You in the background watching her. I thought it was weird at the time, wondered why you were at her event. But you said something about supporting family, and I believed you, because I trusted you." "I'm sorry," he said. The words sounded hollow, meaningless. "You're sorry you got caught," I corrected. "If I hadn't checked that dashcam footage, you'd still be lying to me. You'd still be using my car to pick up your girlfriend." "Don't call her that," my sister-in-law said sharply. I turned to her. "What should I call her then? Your husband's mistress? Your partner in destroying 2 marriages? Help me out here." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "Does your husband know?" I asked her. "Does my brother-in-law have any idea what you've been doing?" "No," she whispered. "Please don't tell him. Please. It'll destroy him. It'll destroy him," I repeated. "What about me? Did you think about destroying me when you were climbing into bed with my husband?" "That's not fair," my husband said. "Fair?" The word came out too loud. I lowered my voice with effort. "You want to talk to me about fair? You, who vowed to love and honor me, who promised to be faithful, want to lecture me about fairness?" Silence fell again, heavy, suffocating. I pulled out my phone, opened the dashcam footage. "I have everything recorded. Every time she picked you up, every park you sat in, every lie you both told me." My sister-in-law's face went even paler. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet," I admitted. "I'm still trying to decide. Part of me wants to send this to everyone we know, post it online, make sure everybody sees exactly who you both really are." "Please," my husband said. "Don't do that. Think about our families. Don't you dare tell me to think about our families," I interrupted. "You should have thought about our families before you decided to do this, before you destroyed everything." I turned to leave. My sister-in-law stood up. "Wait, please. Can't we all just sit down and talk about this like adults?" I stopped, turned back to her. "Adults? Adults don't sneak around. Adults don't betray the people who trust them. You want to be treated like an adult? Then face the consequences of your actions like one." I walked out of that house and got into my car. My whole body was shaking. I sat there for a full minute before I could even put the key in the ignition. When I finally did, when I started driving, I had no idea where I was going. Just away. Away from that house. Away from them. Away from everything my life had been up until this moment. I ended up at my mom's house. She opened the door, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. "What What happened? I told her everything. Showed her the dashcam footage on my phone. Watched her face cycle through confusion, shock, anger, and finally heartbreak. When I finished, she pulled me into a hug. "That son of a bitch," she said into my hair. "Both of them. What are you going to do?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "Part of me wants revenge, wants to make them hurt the way I'm hurting. But mostly I'm just tired. Tired of thinking about it. Tired of replaying every moment wondering what was real and what was a lie." Mom made me tea. We sat at her kitchen table, the same table where I'd done homework as a kid, where we'd celebrated birthdays and holidays, where life used to make sense. "Your brother-in-law deserves to know," she said gently. "I know, and you deserve better than this. Better than him. I know that too." I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, but knowing it and feeling it are two different things. Right now, I just feel stupid for not seeing, stupid for trusting them. "You're not stupid," Mom said firmly. "They're good liars. That's not your fault." My phone started ringing. My husband. I declined the call. It rang again immediately. Declined again. Then texts started coming through. "Please answer. We need to talk about this. I can explain everything. Please don't tell my brother. I love you." That last one made me laugh bitterly. Love. He didn't know the first thing about love. My sister-in-law started texting too. Long paragraphs about how sorry she was, how it wasn't supposed to happen like this, how she valued our friendship. I deleted each message without reading past the first line. I stayed at Mom's that night. Slept in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by memories of a simpler time. Before marriage, before betrayal, before I learned that the people you trust most can hurt you deepest. The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt the day before. I knew what I needed to do. I called my brother-in-law, asked if we could meet for coffee. He sounded surprised, but agreed. We met at a cafe downtown at 10 a.m. He was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with his laptop open, still working even on a Saturday. No wonder his wife felt neglected. Though that didn't excuse what she'd done, nothing excused it. "Hey," he said, smiling at me, completely unaware his world was about to implode. "This is a nice surprise. We should do this more often." I almost couldn't go through with it. Almost made up some excuse about needing advice on a project or wanting to plan something for the holidays. But then I imagined him finding out some other way, from someone else. Or worse, never finding out at all, living in ignorance while everyone else knew. "I need to show you something," I said. I pulled out my phone, opened the dashcam footage, and slid it across the table. He looked confused, picked up the phone, started watching. I saw the exact moment he understood what he was seeing. His whole body went rigid. The color drained from his face. The hand holding my phone started trembling. "How long?" he asked without looking up from the screen. 8 months that I know of," I said quietly. "Maybe longer." He watched the entire video in silence. When it finished, he set the phone down carefully, like it might shatter. "Where is this house?" I gave him the address, told him about the nurse who owned it, about the charity run photo from last spring, about every time my sister-in-law had borrowed my car and I'd stupidly handed over the keys. "I'm sorry," I said. "I know this isn't easy to hear, but I thought you deserved to know." "Thank you," he said. His voice sounded hollow, empty. "For telling me, for not letting me keep living in a lie." We sat there for a while, two people whose lives had just shattered, trying to figure out what came next. The cafe bustled around us, people laughing, chatting, living their normal lives while ours fell apart. "I trusted her," he said finally, "completely. She complained about our marriage, about me working too much, but I thought we were working through it. I thought we were okay. I thought the same thing about my husband," I said, "and my brother." He shook his head. "My own brother. How could he do this to me?" "I don't know." He stood up abruptly, left money on the table. "I need to go. I don't know what I need to do." "If you need anything," I started. "I know," he said. "Thank you. Really, this couldn't have been easy." I watched him walk out, watched him get into his car and just sit there for a long moment before driving away. I wondered where he was going, what he was going to do, if he'd confront them or wait, plan his next move or act on impulse. I went home, my actual home, the house I shared with my husband. It felt different now, tainted. Every room held memories that I couldn't trust anymore. The kitchen where we'd cooked dinner together, the living room where we'd watched movies, the bedroom where we'd slept side by side, him probably dreaming about her. My husband came home around 6 p.m. He looked exhausted, defeated, like he'd aged 10 years overnight. "My brother called me," he said from the doorway. "He knows." "Good," I said. "He told me to never contact him again. Said he never wants to see me for the rest of his life. Can you blame him?" He came into the room, sat on the couch like his legs wouldn't hold him anymore. "This is all such a disaster. I never wanted it to go this far." "Then you shouldn't have started it," I said. The words came out cold, clinical, like I was discussing someone else's life instead of my own. "You shouldn't have betrayed your brother. You shouldn't have lied to me every single day for 8 months." "It wasn't 8 months of lying," he tried to argue. "The first few months we were just friends. We talked, that's all." "Oh, well that makes it so much better," I said sarcastically. "You emotionally cheated on me before you physically cheated on me. I feel so relieved." "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean? Explain it to me. Make me understand how any of this was okay, how you justified it to yourself." He put his head in his hands. "I don't know. It happened. She understood me. We connected. And then one day it was more than just talking and I couldn't stop it." "You couldn't stop it," I repeated, like it was something that happened to you instead of something you chose. "You chose this. Every time you met her, every lie you told me, every kiss, every touch, you chose all of it." I know, he said quietly. I know I did, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough. What do you want from me? He asked. Tell me what I can do to fix this. Nothing, I said. There's nothing you can do. You can't unfuck your brother's wife. You can't unlive 8 months of betrayal. You can't give me back the trust you destroyed. So that's it? He asked. You're just giving up on us? On 8 years of marriage? I'm not the one who gave up, I said. You did that when you chose her over me. I never chose her over you. You did, I insisted. Every time you picked her up from that house, every time you lied about working late, every time you looked me in the eye and pretended everything was fine, you chose her, over and over again. Silence fell between us. Heavy, final. I want you out, I said. Pack your things and leave. This is my house too, he said. Then I'll leave, I said. I don't care. I just can't be here with you anymore. I went upstairs and started throwing clothes into a suitcase. He followed me, still trying to talk, still looking for some magic words that would make this better. There were no magic words. No explanation that would undo what he'd done. I packed everything I needed and walked past him without another word. Drove back to Mom's house and moved into the guest room that night. The next few weeks were a blur. I hired a divorce attorney. My brother-in-law did the same. We found ourselves in weirdly parallel situations, both of us trying to untangle lives we'd built with people who'd betrayed us. My husband tried calling, tried texting, tried showing up at Mom's house until I threatened to call the police. He wanted to talk, wanted to explain, wanted another chance. I had nothing to say to him. My sister-in-law sent me a letter. Actual handwritten pages about how sorry she was, how she never meant to hurt me, how she hoped someday I could forgive her. I threw it away without finishing it. Her guilt wasn't my problem anymore. The divorce took 9 months. 9 months of lawyers and negotiations and dividing up a life we'd built together, who got what furniture, who got which photos, splitting bank accounts and retirement funds and arguing over every little detail like we were strangers instead of people who'd once promised forever. My brother-in-law's divorce finalized around the same time. We'd stayed in touch throughout the process. Occasional texts checking in. Coffee meetings where we vented about lawyers and paperwork and the unfairness of having to split assets with people who destroyed our marriages. One afternoon, maybe 6 months after everything exploded, we met for coffee again. He looked better, less haunted. The dark circles under his eyes had faded. They're still together, he told me. Moved in together last month. I wasn't surprised. In some twisted way, it made sense. They'd blown up everything for each other. Lost their families, their reputations. Any moral high ground they might have claimed, might as well commit to it. How are you doing? I asked. Really? Better, he said. Some days are harder than others, but I'm getting there. I joined a gym, started therapy, reconnecting with friends I'd neglected during my marriage. That's good, I said. That's really good. What about you? Same, I said. Better. Not great yet, but better. I started painting again. Haven't done that since college. It helps. We talked for over an hour. About healing and moving forward and learning to trust again. About the weird relief of being divorced. Of not having to wonder anymore. About how we both felt lighter somehow, despite everything. As we were leaving, he walked me to my car. Can I ask you something? Sure. Would you want to have dinner sometime? Not like this. Not as divorce survivors commiserating. An actual dinner. Just 2 people enjoying each other's company. I looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw not my ex-husband's brother, but a person. Someone kind who'd been through hell and come out the other side. Someone who understood what I'd been through in a way most people never could. Yes, I said. I'd like that. We went to dinner the following week. Italian place downtown. We talked about everything except our exes. Movies we'd seen, books we'd read, travel plans we were making now that we were free to go wherever we wanted. It felt good, normal, like maybe there was life after betrayal after all. That dinner turned into another, and another. We started spending more time together, not because of revenge or spite or some twisted attempt to mirror what they'd done, but because we genuinely enjoyed each other, because we made each other laugh, because we both knew what it was like to rebuild yourself from nothing. 6 months later, he kissed me. We were at his apartment watching a movie on his couch. He'd been leaning closer all evening, and I'd been letting him. When his lips touched mine, it felt right, natural, like coming home after a long journey. We took it slow. Both of us were careful, cautious, protecting hearts that had already been shattered once. But it grew. Whatever was between us, it deepened into something real. A year after our divorces finalized, we moved in together. My mom thought it was too soon. His parents definitely thought it was too soon, but we didn't care. We'd both learned that life was short and unpredictable, and you couldn't waste time worrying about what other people thought. We've been together 2 years now, living in a house we picked out together, building a life on honesty instead of lies. We talk about everything, share everything. When one of us is having a bad day, dealing with residual trust issues or memories of the betrayal, the other one understands. No judgment, no impatience, just support. I saw my ex-husband once, about 6 months ago. I was at the grocery store, loading bags into my car, when I spotted him across the parking lot. He was pushing a cart, looking tired and older than I remembered. My former sister-in-law walked beside him, visibly pregnant with a rounded belly. They looked like any other couple. Unremarkable, ordinary, loading groceries into their trunk, and probably heading home to their shared life. He saw me and froze. I could see him trying to decide whether to acknowledge me or pretend we were strangers. I saved him the trouble. Nodded once, brief and impersonal, then finished loading my car. When I got home, my boyfriend was in the kitchen making dinner. He looked up when I walked in. You okay? He asked. You look a little shaken. I saw them, I said. At the store. She's pregnant. He set down the knife he'd been using to chop vegetables and came over to me, pulled me into a hug. How do you feel about that? I thought about it, tried to access the anger or hurt or jealousy that should have been there, found nothing. I don't feel anything, I realized. They're just people I used to know. Good, he said, kissed the top of my head. That's good. Later that night, we were sitting on our porch with wine, watching the sunset. He reached over and took my hand. I'm glad your ex was an idiot, he said. I laughed. That's one way to look at it. I'm serious, he said. Everything that happened, as terrible as it was, brought us here. And I wouldn't change that for anything. Neither would I realized. And I meant it. Because the truth was, the best revenge wasn't making them suffer. It wasn't posting dashcam footage online, or turning their families against them, or any of the vindictive fantasies I'd entertained in those early days. The best revenge was this. Being genuinely happy, building something real with someone who valued honesty, living a life I was proud of instead of a life I was settling for. My ex-husband made his choice. So did my former sister-in-law. They chose lies and betrayal and temporary pleasure over integrity. They got to live with those choices, got to build a life on a foundation of broken trust and hurt people. I chose differently. I chose to walk away from the lie and toward the truth. I chose healing over bitterness. I chose to believe in love again, even after everything. And that choice, that decision to not let their betrayal define me, was the best decision I ever made. Sometimes people ask if I've forgiven them, my ex and his wife, if I've let go of the anger and moved on. The truth is more complicated than that. I don't think about them enough to maintain active anger. They're not important enough to my life anymore to occupy that much mental space. But forgiveness? That's a strong word. What I have is indifference. They made their choices. They live with the consequences. I made mine, and I'm happy. That's not forgiveness. It's something else. Something like peace mixed with gratitude. Peace because I'm no longer at war with what happened. Gratitude because their betrayal, as awful as it was, led me here. To a partner who respects me, to a relationship built on honesty, to a version of myself that's stronger and clearer about what I will and won't accept. I still have the dashcam footage saved on an external hard drive, tucked away in a closet somewhere, forgotten most of the time. I probably should delete it. Don't need it anymore. But I keep it as a reminder, not of what they did, not as evidence or ammunition, but as a marker, a before and after point in my life. The moment everything changed and I had to decide who I was going to be. I chose to be someone who doesn't settle for scraps of honesty, someone who knows her own worth, someone who can survive betrayal and come out stronger on the other side. Last week, my boyfriend and I were talking about the future. Marriage, maybe. Kids someday. Building something permanent together. Are you scared? He asked me. After everything that happened with your ex, doesn't it make you afraid to trust again? Terrified, I admitted. But I'm more afraid of letting what he did control the rest of my life. More afraid of closing myself off from real connection because of one person's mistakes. I won't hurt you like he did, he said. I promise you that. I believe you, I said. And I did, because he'd already shown me who he was. Through his own pain and healing, through the way he treated me, through choosing honesty even when it was hard. We're building something different from what I had before. Something healthier, based on actual trust instead of blind faith, on communication instead of assumptions, on choosing each other every day instead of taking each other for granted. My ex-husband borrowed my trust and spent it on someone else. But in losing him, I gained something far more valuable. I gained clarity about what I deserve, strength I didn't know I had. A partner who values what we have because he knows what it's like to lose everything. Some people might say we're two broken people who found each other in the wreckage. Maybe that's true, but broken things can be mended, and sometimes they're stronger for having been broken and put back together. I look at my life now and barely recognize it from 2 years ago. Different house, different partner, different version of myself, but better, so much better. Because I learned that betrayal doesn't have to be the end of your story. It can be the beginning of a better chapter, the catalyst for becoming someone who won't accept less than they deserve. My ex made his choice. I made mine. And every day I'm grateful I'm not him, that I'm not them, that I'm here. In this life I've built from the ashes of what they destroyed. That's the real ending. Not revenge or forgiveness or even closure. Just moving forward, building something new, choosing happiness over bitterness, choosing truth over comfortable lies. The dashcam footage that started everything sits in its box in my closet. A relic from another life. Another version of myself who didn't know what she was capable of surviving. Now I know. I survived betrayal by the person I trusted most. Rebuilt my life from scratch. Found love again when I thought I'd never trust anyone enough to try. And that knowledge, that certainty that I can survive anything, is worth more than any apology my ex could ever offer. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads to the best thing you never saw coming. Sometimes losing everything is exactly what you need to find what you were really looking for all along. My marriage ended. My family fractured. My life imploded. But from those ruins I built something better. Something real. Something mine. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. Not even to undo the pain of how I got here. Because the pain was temporary. But the strength it gave me, the clarity, the life I built on the other side, that's permanent.